when I was younger, probably maybe first, second grade, being placed into an ESL classroom when I had good English skills. And so, like, simply because my name was a Mexican last name and I came from a low income, family, I think they just make that assumption like, oh, you must not speak good English. And so for me, that was traumatizing and I felt so dumb. I still remember, I reflect on that and how in a moment like that, like I just felt dumb compared to my peers. You know what I mean? So those early educational experiences, like you can tell that they're going to impact people, right? Yeah. They're going to be traumatic and they're going to make an impact in your life. You know what I mean? And for me, that was one of the early educational experiences that were just like, oh my goodness, like so wrong, a little traumatizing. And in that moment, I honestly felt dumb. You know what I mean? Because I saw other peers and I was like, wait, I don't get it. Like I speak the same English that you do. Why am I in here?
When you're a kid, like if an adult tells you something about yourself, whether it's true or not, or they make you feel something about yourself, they treat you a certain way that makes you feel something about yourself, you're like, okay, I guess that's true. Like, I think I'm smart. Like, you must have been thinking, I think I'm smart. I think my English is pretty good like everybody else's, but they're telling me my English sucks or that I'm stupid, so I guess I am stupid, right? And that's terrible. That's hard to shake as a kid. It takes you a long time, right?
Yeah, for sure. And even like still, like we were discussing in the live, sort of just the impact that those sort of experiences have, right? And like me as an older person now, it's like I didn't really think about it, but instances like those have shaped me. And like, for instance, right now, like public speaking is something that I'm still nervous about because I think those experiences mark you. You know what I mean? Like public speaking is still hard for me. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, did I just trip up on a word? Like, did my English sound correctly? Like, you know what I mean? Those are just some of the ways that experience has impacted me now. And as an older adult, it still has impacts me, you know?
Yeah. And as an adult, like, or just as a person, like the thing that keeps you from doing the things you want to do and being the person you want to be are the voices in your head. Right. And it's that those kinds of experiences that put more voices in your head. Right. And like, it's weird. Like you can, you're on your way to being a doctor and you're going to have this great career. And you probably, to the day you die, will always remember that experience, and those voices will stay with you. No matter how confident you become, those voices will always be in there, and you will have to like consciously ignore them. And that's work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and you know what I mean. Like in higher education, a common theme that we talk about is like imposter syndrome, and always hearing those. What you're saying, like almost those voices telling you, oh, well, you don't belong here. You got there because of luck. You know what I mean? And it's a constant, like you were saying, constant work and like telling yourself, you know what, like this is an experience that you have. These are moments that you have, but they do not define you. You know what I mean? So, but it's constant work. It's constant telling yourself like, it's almost like that constant battle, you know?
Yeah. And on top of you trying to succeed and following your doctorate and all that stuff, which is already work, it's just added work of, I mean, the imposter syndrome. It's funny for me to read, a beautiful essay in the Atlantic from a white millennial talking about imposter syndrome and how it's really prevalent in millennial culture. And, but then I'm thinking like, you have no idea what it's like to be a Latino millennial or Gen Z, because you have that double, triple imposter syndrome. Because like the society's literally directly telling us, you don't belong here. You are a foreigner. You are an imposter. You're an imposter American. And then, we're also millennials, so we have that imposter syndrome that everybody else has. So like to be, it's you, right? You want to be a psychologist, right? And there's a lack of Latino psychologists, right? And it's maybe it's because it's a cultural thing for the longest time. Maybe it's the immigrant culture, just Latino culture, that whatever problems you have, just, swallow it, just keep going, ponte las pilas, keep your head down, just get to work, whatever problem, I'm sure as a Latino, as a Latina, there's people in your family, we've grown up in families where that person, that tia, that mom or dad or grandma or grandfather probably needs to go, or definitely needs to go to therapy, needs to go to see a psychologist, and just doesn't, because it's such a stigma in Latino culture. And so then to want to be a psychologist, you have to get past that, and then you don't see any Latina psychologists. So that it's just what are your, when your moments of doubt, what are those ugly voices telling you? Because I know what the good voices are telling you, because you're doing it right. You're the good voices are probably telling you, fuck that shit. We got to break the cycle. We got to break the stigma. We got to break all these prejudices that we have about psychology and the Latino culture. But what are those ugly feelings?
Yeah, so like I was telling you before, like the bad voices, like the bad feelings always tell me like you don't belong here. Like what I think there's also just like more specific feelings and thoughts. So for example, like I don't know, say my family, like this might be too much information, but like you were saying, you know what I mean? Some of my own family members may need therapy, but that's just not a thing that we, you know what I mean? Like our culture really supports or really believes in. So like, in moments like that where say I'm struggling with my family, those are like, that's sometimes where the ugly feelings also come up. Like as a future psychologist, you know what I mean? I tell myself like, how are you going to be a psychologist if like you have your own issues and you have your own struggles? And sometimes I get those are very specific ones, but like I think about that a lot, you know what I mean? And then I have to go back and like rethink those stuff and be like, but that is truly the reason why you are also becoming a psychologist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But some of those other ugly like thoughts are very general, very like you don't belong here, like you're not smart enough, like you just got here because of luck. And it's really hard because like in a program like mine, it's a primarily white program, a primarily white institution. So it's like, I don't know, it's hard, you know what I mean? Like not to compare yourself with like you and your white peers. Obviously, like you have different backgrounds. So like you shouldn't even be comparing yourself, but like you do.